Good morning, MTSU. Hope that you had a good evening last night. We are back for day two, and we are starting with a great topic, one that can apply to all of us, regardless of your content, and that is Canvas discussions. So we're going to go ahead and just get a quick glimpse as to what we're going to cover in this first session. Similar to assignments, I want to start in the specific area of Canvas where discussions are organized so you understand how you might want to set that up for yourself because there are some settings there, for example, that you might want to know about and turn on or off. Then we will get into the creation of discussions and understand not only what it's like to manage an active discussion, but also understand different types of discussions. You can have them be graded or ungraded. You can have peer review and group discussions. And then we'll get into some tips and tricks like duplicating and sharing discussions too. So let's get right into the discussions index page, which inside of your Canvas course is located in the discussions link. Remember that we are hiding this area on purpose from students because the discussions area is for us as instructors to organize our discussions. Now, at the top here, you'll have a way to filter your discussions by whether they have unread replies or not, or search. We also see an enticing plus add discussion button. Don't click on it just yet. And right over here, you have your overall discussion settings present too. Moving on down here, I want to review for you, especially if you were here with us yesterday, the structure of the discussions index page. And it has folders that open and close. All of mine are closed, with the top section being discussions you're keeping an eye on because they're active or because they are ones you know you need to keep monitoring. And this particular board does have some replies on it, 2 replies total, but none are unread, meaning I've read all the replies. I can also see that there has been a to-do date added to it. I can also see that it's published, and I also see an interesting green flag. The green flag indicates that you are currently subscribed to posts on the board, meaning you will get a notification email if you have one or more of those discussion notifications turned on in your account, which for reference lies right here. There is a separate discussions area of that notification space. Now, if it's just getting too much to handle and you're getting so many emails, you can unsubscribe from the board. And then each board also has a menu where you can do things like edit the discussion. We'll swing back to this in a little bit. Now, below the pinned discussions is the rest of your discussions, and they're organized by recent activity. So the most recent activity is on top. And at the very bottom, you have a drawer for closed for comments, meaning they're view only, and we're not letting students to post because they're too busy or the time has passed. Now, if you need to move discussions from one area to another, for example, if I want to pin this 1.9 discussion, you can drag it, or you can go to the 3 dots for the discussion and choose pin. And that just brings it up to that main area at the top. If you want to reverse that action, select on the 3 dots and choose unpin. And in the same way, if I want to close this for comments, you can go on the 3 dots. If you don't see that close for comments here, you can always try to move it because you have that capability to do so. And if you have a discussion in the close for comments area, you will also have an option to unclose it. So open it for comments. Now, if you need to go into a discussion, you can click on that link to view the prompt itself as well as all the replies underneath. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. But before we get into that, I do want to discuss with you here the settings area. So go ahead and click that settings gear for me and just let's explore what's here. You can control whether you want to manually mark replies as read. That's personal preference. You can also help determine part of that student experience. For instance, you can choose to let students edit their own replies or not edit their own replies, or to let them attach files to discussion replies or not, or to help you monitor the board. And if there is an inappropriate or irrelevant or offensive reply placed, you can give students the ability to report replies to you. In that case, you will want to have a notification for that because you don't want that inappropriate post to be hanging out hours after it's been posted. So if you do turn this on, this report replies option, go to your account and turn that notification on in notifications. You have to search a little bit, so scroll down to the discussions area. And this last notification is reported reply. And you can have this on to notify immediately or as part of a summary email. While you're here, you can consider turning on a notification whenever there is a new reply or whenever you are mentioned. There is an at mention function. Uh, Choose your desired frequency there. And then that will apply for all discussions to which you are subscribed. Now, you notice I have skipped over this particular checkbox here. I'll be honest, I don't see a particular need for students to be able to create discussion boards. So you'll want to turn that off unless perhaps you've got a very like a upper level seminar class, something of that nature. Maybe then that's appropriate. But I'd say for most folks, you don't have to have this checkbox on. All right. So I want to give you a little bit of work time here to start off and start exploring your space. Folks, let's go ahead and work for about 2 minutes, and then closer to the end of that work time, if we can gather those questions from you, then we can answer them. Or Karen, shall I go ahead and answer your question here?
You can actually continue.
Oh, okay. So let's do this. Take a little time to work, and then closer to the end, we'll take your questions. All right, let's go ahead and take some questions.
Did you see my question, Ellen?
Mm,
One of my discussions that got migrated, it doesn't show a due date, it just shows the beginning and end date.
but there was a due date in D2L.
Yes, and then all the other ones have due dates.
I don't know.
If,
It's a good
now,
question.
Tammy, if you want to pop the D2L class in there, but if nothing else, she's going to walk through like how to put the dates in. I mean, and you can add it in at that point. But if you want to send your like the link to your D2L course and your Canvas course to me, I will take a look at them and see.
Well, I mean, I could probably copy it and just do a new one. I just wondered if there was some reason one just didn't do it. So,
I can't think of one.
okay,
I think without seeing your other class, I just don't know yet.
okay.
Yeah. In-person friends, how you doing? That's correct, Dr. Luck. If you're not subscribed to a discussion, you don't get notifications. Oh, Karen, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
In person, the question is about organizing the discussion page. There's no other way besides pinning. Is that correct?
Correct. You can pin or unpin. You can open or close for comments, but those are the only three sections you have access to.
And you can't organize within the discussions area and leave those in that same order. Is that correct?
You could move discussion boards within the same section if that's what you mean.
Will
That's
they stay in that
possible.
order?
Yes, unless there's new activity. So if this 3.7 discussion suddenly became very active, then it's going to be pushed up the top because it's ordered by recent activity.
Thank you.
Great question.
And that's the only way they can be ordered.
Yes, unless you want to, again, manually move discussions around, which you're free to do.
Okay, but mine won't manually move. I tried that and it wouldn't go.
Oh, this won't even move around?
Mine wouldn't even move.
Oh, interesting. You can try in the three dots to see if you can, for example, I can close for comments. See, that will push discussions around to new sections.
But we can't like in D2L, my discussions, I could have them in the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they were just there for the students to go into as they needed. So this way, they're just going to be ever how I last worked in them is how they're going to come jumbled up, right?
Well, that's correct, but remember that the discussions area is closed to students, right? Students access discussions in modules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great questions.
I have not closed that one. I'll drag it down.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at setting up new discussions. It is possible to make a new discussion from the plus add discussion button. However, I will show you here, it comes in completely blank. Unless you've, well, I've been working on a discussion, so it has content here. You may wish to do this instead. If you go to modules, which is where students access their discussions, because we want them to access discussions in context. You can take a discussion that has previously been given and you can duplicate it. The utility of duplicating a discussion is that it comes pre-formatted with the format from that other discussion. So you can simply edit the copy and give the copy to students. And this is definitely the way to go if you access the course template MTSU has placed for you in the Commons, because there is a template discussion in there that you can duplicate in this manner. So you can create a discussion from modules. In fact, that's, I think, the best way to go. And then once you have your duplicate created, you can move it to a new module if it's supposed to be there, like so. And then I just have to fix up the discussion. So when you click on that new discussion, however you created it, it may come in blank, it may come in formatted like this. You can make edits and changes by selecting on the three dots menu here and then choosing edit. Or it may have come in completely empty, in which case you're already presented with a screen similar to this. So here, I'll go ahead and select and just modify the title of this discussion. Here is where you will enter in details about the prompt, and I encourage you to use the rich content editor to add links, images, studio video, right? Documents, whatever you need to add to make your prompt really interesting. And I encourage you too to remember students will have access to the rich content editor, so they can create video replies. Imagine you can have a string of videos as replies to other posts, which is wonderful. And after you check for accessibility, go ahead and contemplate your options regarding settings. You can allow students to attach items, right? But you can also attach items to the discussion prompt. And now, depending on how you created this discussion, this may come in grayed out or not grayed out. So I will explain this function. I had duplicated a graded discussion, so that's why it came in graded. Let's contemplate first the creation of an ungraded discussion. Ungraded discussions are more for Q&A, for introduction, for discussing course topics, but for which grades are not attached. And when this comes unchecked, you will lose some options of the graded version, including assigning a due date or attaching a rubric. However, it does open up, if that's appropriate, options for anonymous discussion. Now, you can have this off, right? Meaning no anonymity. Or if desired, you can require a partial or full anonymity. If you allow full anonymity, even as the instructor of the course, you will be unable to determine who posted what. So if that is going to be an issue for you, then go ahead and leave that on off. The partial option allows for students to choose to reveal their name and profile picture, or they can leave that onto the anonymous option. Now, just so you can see the difference, I'm going to move to a fake student in my own Canvas so you can see from their side what this means. So here is that fake student. This particular Q&A discussion board is full anonymity. So students will be told it's anonymous. Your course name and profile are hidden. She did make this particular post. That's why it says you. But just to show you here, right, like all students would see and all the instructor would see would be this anonymous and then this fake name that is auto-generated for you. The partial anonymity option looks more like this. So right here, when I click on reply, I can type my post and then I can choose to appear anonymous to others or as myself. And then I hit reply. So those are your options if you want to allow anonymous discussion. And by the way, if you have anonymity on, you cannot have it graded. There's no such thing as a graded anonymous discussion. Now, other options you can turn on here. You can require, this is my favorite, I require students have to respond to the initial post before they can see others. That's this checkbox right here. You can also allow or disallow threaded replies. We know that this turns on grading. You can also allow liking with a little thumbs up that students can click to indicate that they like the post. And while this is an ungraded discussion, you can still add this to the to-do list. This is what a lot of instructors do for that first introduce yourself discussion board. They still want students to do it, but there's no strict deadline for it, not like a graded assignment. So I can still put this on the to-do list. Hey, you have to do your introduction post by May 20th. So it appears there. And by default, all discussion boards you create are whole class. So if you want to maybe have students be more responsive in smaller groups, you can turn on a group discussion. More on this later, but this is where you would turn that on to have it so that students in groups of 3 or 4 respond to the prompt instead of having one discussion board with 500 students trying to access it. You can also modify how threads appear to students, as well as the sort order. And then here is where you determine the student to-do list. So I can assign this to everyone, make it available from this date until that date. So after that date, let me fix this. After that until date, the discussion will be closed and it will automatically be placed in that closed for comments section of your discussion index. And then you would hit save and publish. And remember, publishing makes it so that students will be able to view it. And you need to make sure to add that discussion to your module. So I think I made it 2.9, which is right here, so that it's in the proper module and in the proper location. All right, let's give you a little time here to work, and then we'll address some questions closer to the end of that time. I am muted. Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren just answered it. Dr. McLean, if you're trying to add a discussion to a module, if you did not duplicate one, for example, I duplicated this one, you can add a discussion from the plus button in the module here. Choose on the drop down, the option for discussion, and then you can find it from the list. Of course, you have to know what it's called, and then you can add it. Then
Okay.
click on add item. Mhm.
I guess I was thinking if you're building from scratch and you don't have any discussions, I figured out that you're doing this within the module settings, not within the discussions, but um, I mean, I get the copy and paste to use the template or what you just now illustrated, but let's just say you're starting a new course and you don't have any existing already.
Mhm. So you could do this. You can just choose create topic and then give this brand new discussion board a name of your choosing, and it will come in. It will just be blank, but you can make a new discussion that way. So
Okay,
here it is right here. And then you would go into the three dots here and then edit.
very good. Thank you.
Mhm. Dr. Knock, I know you've been waiting a while. What's your question?
Kind of along the lines of what you were just doing. I built just a generic discussion that I want to have connected to my initial introductory module.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out how to get it to show in the modules.
Okay, so you made the discussion in discussions, is that right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And you know the name of it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So locate your welcome module
Okay.
and then click on the plus button for it. And then in
And
the drop down, there's a drop down arrow, choose discussion.
okay.
And then your discussion should be somewhere in the list. You just have to look for it. And then you would click on add item.
All right, I get it. And then just add item and
Mhm.
boom, there it is. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Rust?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand the difference. So I'm editing discussions that had migrated over. And on the assignment settings, there's the assign to, and then it has a due date and then available from and until. What's the difference between the due date and the until?
Due dates in Canvas are soft due dates. So if I have a discussion due on Friday and a student submits their post on Monday, it is marked late, but strictly speaking, it's still available. So if I put an until date for Tuesday, after Tuesday, they can no longer submit their post to the discussion for grading.
Okay. And then which one shows up on the to-do list?
The due date.
Okay.
Mhm. Now, when they select the discussion to make their reply, they will be told whether that's inside of that discussion or in the calendar that there is an until date. So they will be informed of that. It's not secret information, but certainly after that point, after that until date has passed, they can no longer submit.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. All right. So a look into graded discussions, and I'll choose this discussion here since it's a graded one. When you look at a graded discussion, you don't necessarily see a big difference unless you go to edit. When you set up an edit for a graded discussion like this, of course, you must check off graded. There is another option here to assign graded checkpoints. This, in short, means I can turn on a function whereby students must submit their first post by Tuesday, and then their two initial replies to two other students are due on Friday. That's what's available when you turn on graded checkpoints. So I'll leave this on just so you can see what that's like as I go through the graded options. All other checkboxes and
Could you
settings.
say that again? Repeat what you just said, please, if you don't mind.
So when the discussion is graded, it'll have a checkbox here. If there is just this graded checkbox turned on and not this one, there is one due date for all student replies for grading. If you want to have different due dates, I have an initial due date for the initial post by a student, and a week later, you require 3 replies by the student to 3 other students. You need to turn this checkbox on. This is called graded checkpoints.
Thank you.
All of the other settings here are just about the same, except when you get down here, additional options pop up because you have chosen a graded discussion. Determine how you want the grade to display. Determine which group this discussion goes in, and it is assigned in assignments. You will see this discussion there. And under checkpoint settings, here is where you determine points possible. So I want 10 points. Like I want to give students 10 points for the first reply. They have to reply to 2 other people, and their replies in total are 10 points. So Canvas says, okay, that means your discussion board is worth 20 points, 10 plus 10. And then right here, when you do assign to, here's where you determine those due dates. So the initial reply is due Monday, and all of the additional replies students have to create are due Friday. And as I've mentioned, these due dates are soft. So if you must, because you need to be, right? You can set an until date. So I'm accepting these replies because I'm nice until June 3rd. After June 3rd, there's no more replies accepted on the board. Available from means some date before the topic due date. So this is available tomorrow until the 3rd for students to get their first reply done and their replies to others. And then I click on save. Now, since it is going to be graded in SpeedGrader, where you can see all replies, you can select in the 3 dots right here, the show rubric function. And this is where you add your rubric. We saw rubric addition yesterday, but we will have detailed session later on today. So that's the setup of that initial graded discussion.
Can I add checkpoints?
Yes, I did add checkpoints here. You should be able to. Yes.
Okay, I think I missed that. I think I was looking at the other screen, doing what you had just done. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Checkpoints are right here.
Yeah, but can I add checkpoints? Okay, you have your checkpoints. Can I add an extra check? Is it just what's there? I can't like do an extra. See, you've only got 3. Can I add one there?
No.
So I can only go with what they have or not go with anything at all.
Mhm.
Okay.
Karen?
There's a question in the room about moderating a discussion. Is that still possible so that the instructor can determine whether a student replies to more than one post?
No, not that. So that the students can't see anybody's till I grade them.
So sorry, apologies. So a student can't see anybody's post until the instructor grades the post.
I might actually do some research on that, but my initial thought is no, I don't think so. That's a good question.
Can see the replies. Will they not be able to change their own replies?
So the question is, if the students are able to see the replies, are they able to change their first prompt or any of their posts? Edit, basically.
So that part, Karen, you can actually have control over because in the discussion settings here, you can just turn off, edit, and delete their own replies.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let me take just a few more. Time is
Ellen, I see that John has a question, but we have a few questions about grading. We've had one ask just what that looks like, how to grade, and then
okay.
If giving points for answering. Let's see, there's one by Elizabeth Stevens and Diana Russ, all within kind of similar grading. So maybe if you cover that, and then John, I'm not sure what your question is, but if we'll get to that too.
Okay, let me just see here. This we should be able to check out because it has checkpoints on it. Let me just check to see. Okay, we have a rubric. All right. Since we've got a lot of questions about grading, let's go ahead and answer that here. So this is a discussion board with checkpoints on. There should be students' replies on it. See, there's 10 replies on it. You can access all of these inside of SpeedGrader. So initially, you'll see all of the students' replies on the same screen, but out of context. If you'd prefer, you can access the full context, which just brings up the board. This will load up here momentarily. And then I can move in between their replies by using the arrows. With the checkpoints option on, means that you can numerically enter in a value for each of the replies. So I can give Beckett here 5 points for their initial topic and then whatever points I feel they need for their required replies. And then that gets added up here. If it is late, it will be indicated as such. It will say it's late and by how many days it's late. And you can use a rubric. However, just know that the points earned through the rubric do not auto-populate on the grade. So for example, like I can do this. I'll give her like full credit here. But you notice that it didn't actually save. So my advice here would be to do this. If you really want to do discussion checkpoints, you can still have a rubric here. Just make sure that the rubric matches your assessment for the replies. For example, have your first criterion be for the first reply to topic. And then the next criterion determines how you grade the required replies. You can still use that, but you may have to type these in manually. After that, though, it should add up to give you the total score for the student. So in essence, make the rubric match the checkpoints information. Okay, so I think that answered that question there. As far as managing a discussion that's happening, and this happens to be a pretty busy discussion board right here, you can scroll up and down and see those replies. And if there's been a threaded discussion, like for this young gentleman right here, you can click on where it says two replies, one unread. If you have a certain feature on called split screen, this is what you'll see. The discussion board appears here, but the specific thread appears here. And wherever you see the word reply, whether that's here or in the main body of the discussion board, you or students can reply to each other here. There's even an option if you click on reply for students to mention each other. So I just typed in the at, and I can mention, say, another student. Students can also mention each other too, and mention other students when they craft their replies. They can also do this, and you can also do this. Select on the three dots here. You can even do things like quote reply. So a quote reply simply means I'm in my reply to this student, like I will see a copy of this, and then I can kind of direct a more pointed reply to that person because the quote reply will be in the main body of the message. Now, if you don't see this split screen option when you try to access a discussion, you can turn that on up here. What you may have on right now is called inline. Inline means honestly what you think it means. It means all replies are inside the main area of the discussion board. So see, there's Hope's reply, and then there's my reply all together on the board. All right. And then just a quick mention of a couple of other types of boards. And I would encourage you to dig into those only when you feel comfortable with such things. By default, all your discussion boards are whole class. So all 120 students have access to the same board, but you can turn on an option for small groups of 3 to have access to their own board. That's called the group discussion. We'll have a session on group work tomorrow where we'll dig into setting up groups in greater detail. But in short, every student replying on their own small discussion board is only able to see the replies of a couple of other students, which tends to increase engagement and interest. And they don't feel like everybody's watching them when they're answering the same prompt in that group. So in short, you would turn on, this is a group discussion, set up the group. We'll talk about groups tomorrow, right? Once it is set up, you will see here an additional button called group discussion, where you can access the small group boards, any small group board you wish, and be able to see the replies of those specific students in that board. Yeah, I don't have anybody here, but you'll be able to see all of those replies on each individual board. All right. We're actually at a natural break point for a couple of questions.
John Little, can you go ahead and ask your question of Helen? You had your hand raised earlier.
Yeah, it kind of went back previously when Dr. Russ brought up her question is, can you make the due date and the until date one of the same? In other words,
Yes.
I don't want to have two due dates, so to speak. I just want a due date. So if I can set that until date, would the system allow that? And so that's
Yes. Mhm. Yeah, you want a hard date. Yes. Dr. McLean has a great question. I would recommend keeping it simple. Inline selected is nice and easy. It's going to be a lot of scrolling, but that's okay. When you feel more comfortable with Canvas, then I would recommend branching out to a group discussion. So there's no harm in starting out, simple.
May I ask a more of a pedagogical question than a technical question?
Mhm.
Um, so I'm looking at my discussions and I'm trying to decide, this is a history class, so all the discussions are about some kind of image or document, which right now reside in the module. Would it be a better practice to attach it to the discussion directly, or to have it in both places, or leave it just in the module? The thing that they're discussing.
Oh, good question. I would recommend you put it in the rich content editor of the discussion
Okay.
because it'll be right there in their faces. They can't avoid that.
Okay.
Yeah. Inline versus threaded. Let me show you one. I'll go back to this one. Actually, let's do this one. This particular discussion here, which we saw previously, so this one is not threaded because I'm not able to access that thread like elsewhere, right? So actually, okay, let me hold back. Yeah, that's right. If you have this set up as inline, it means every single reply is accessible within the main area of the discussion board as it is here. If I set it up with split screen though, which helps prevent some of the scrolling, you're able to still access threads. They'll just be in a separate area. So when I go back to this young man's thread from before, when I click on replies here, the thread appears over here, but it still lets me scroll up to see the original prompt. So that can be helpful for me because maybe I forgot the prompt. So that's the split screen function. Inline prevents this new screen from popping up. So you have a more traditional view where all of the replies are accessible in the main area. All right, friends, I think we're just at time. Yeah, I think so. Allow threaded and split screen as settings. Actually, I think with split screen, you don't have to turn that on. Students can figure this out. They will figure this out for themselves. But you can select threaded or unthreaded for students in the discussion settings.
I have a really important question, Helen.
Okay.
Did you choose all of the example names in these discussions? Because I'm seeing
Oh, the
some
character.
fun references. Yeah.
Welcome to my brain, Kyla.
I love it. Just wanted you to know someone got it. I love that show, Community. So good.
All right, friends. Admins, what do you think? We need a break, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and pause right here so you can get some time away from your computer. We'll wrap up here and we'll start with new quizzes here momentarily. Thanks, everybody.